The Trump White House is moving to stop giving tens of billions of dollars in federal funding to notably Democrat-run states if they don't rein it in, if they don't stop the waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayer money. Joining us now, the CEO of America Majority, he's Ned Ryun. Ned, it's always great to see you again. What do you make of
Thanks,
this?
Liz.
Because the latest is they're moving to freeze more than $10 billion in federal social services funding to California, Minnesota, New York, Illinois, and Colorado to get them to stop the waste, fraud, and abuse. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I think that's just a starting point. If you saw Elon Musk post on X today, he estimated about 10% of our federal budget is fraud, meaning that's about $700 billion a year, Liz, that he thinks disappears through fraud. Now, think about what's going on with these blue states. I think it's been going on for a long time where Democrats in charge of these states have been running our federal taxpayer dollars, these grants, into programs and systems that empower themselves politically. So think about Minnesota. The 80 to 100,000 Somalis, 80 to 90% of them vote Democrat. That money is then seeded throughout the Democrat ecosystem, and I think finding its way either hundreds of thousands or millions back into Democrat campaign coffers. So I think the Trump administration is onto the right thing, but I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think by the time you get to the bottom of it, we're not talking about tens of billions. We're probably talking about hundreds of billions.
That's a lot of money. That could lower our taxes. And also that money could
100%.
That money could have gone to bonuses for teachers, firemen, cops, first
Correct.
responders. I mean, so it's federal highway funding to California if they don't stop with giving trucking licenses to illegal aliens who are unqualified. That's $160 million bucks. AI funding to the states. States don't rein it in on with artificial intelligence regulations could lose out on a pot of $42 billion. And the president signed an executive order to block federal funding for states that even eliminated cash bail. This is a big stick that they're using here.
And I think they're completely justified in doing it, Liz, because these blue states are in defiance of common sense. Think about the commercial driver's license situation. This is a basic public safety issue in which you're allowing illegal immigrants to drive semis down our highways. People are not aware of who's actually driving these semis, what training they've had. And obviously, it's a public safety issue, and it's in defiance of common sense. So that's excellent move by the Trump administration. The AI issue is, to me, a very interesting one. We have to win the arms race against China to make sure that we're in control of AI, but I think we have to have a larger conversation on the national level about where we want to see ourselves end up in regards to singularity and transhumanism. But I agree with Trump. We have to win the arms race. The state regulations on the AI can't slow us down. But we have to have a bigger, larger conversation about what do we want to see, where do we want to see ourselves in 5 or 10 years in regards to AI.
America Majority CEO Ned Ryun, thank you so much for your insights tonight. It's great to see you. Now